Thanks, Elizabeth, and welcome everybody to our final session of day 2 for SCTS Days 2024. Leslie Lowry will now present on the Alliance metadata mandates, core rules for Alliance catalogers. Over to you, Leslie.
Thanks, Jesse. So today's 3 p.m. session, we're going to walk through all 7 of the original Alliance metadata mandates. So just to give you a little bit of history on these mandates, they are policies. They're what Jesse and I tend to refer to as capital P policies. So these are the must do's if you catalog within the Alliance. The reason these mandates were set up is because way back in the long ago, 12 years ago, when we were having conversations about all moving into the ALMA system together and sharing the network zone, what we now know as the network zone, sharing a union catalog, it was a first for most of us. Before that time, we all had our individual instances of Triple I's Millennium, and we were all, just busily beavering away on our own records. Like each institution really owned their own records. So local data, no problem, put it in the record. It was a very different world. And I think for those of us who've been here since before migration, it's easy to forget we were in that situation at that time. So there were a lot of discussions over, well, how are we going to manage that? How do we keep all of our cataloging as consistent as possible? If we're going to be sharing records and linking up to each other's records in a union catalog in the network zone, how's that going to work? So the mandates were established to create consistent catalog records so that we could all link up to them. And also it's a form of shared cataloging work, right? When one member puts really good copy in the catalog for a resource and other members link up to it, then that, those other members didn't have to do all of that copy cataloging work from scratch. If someone puts an original record into WorldCat and then, of course, into the network zone, other members can inherit that work without having to do it themselves. So the mandates allow us to do that kind of shared work and also provide a consistent experience of discoverability for our users. So that's our context for all 7 of these mandates. And let's get to them. So this is the list of mandates. I've added revision dates. So within the last few years, the Cataloging Standing Group has worked through all of these. They've taken a look, cleaned up any outdated language, made sure that they're relevant and still concise, and to the point, as clear as we can make them. So as you can see, there are 7. We're going to walk through all 7. And basically the goal today is, if you're already familiar with the mandates, maybe this will be a refresher for you. If you're new to these mandates, you might learn something new. We're going to talk about what to do if you have questions. Hopefully folks will have some questions today, which we'll talk about at the end of the presentation. And then also I've made a cheat sheet. Basically, one of the things about these mandates is they can be somewhat dense, especially if you're new to them. So basically, I'm boiling down each mandate to its takeaways, and I've created a cheat sheet version of the mandates that's available to you on the event webpage. And I will, after today, I'll also link it to the tech services documentation page where the mandates live. Just as a refresher, this is the tech services documentation website that we looked at earlier today. The mandates sit right at the top of that page. So if you're ever looking for them, all you have to do is get to the tech services documentation page and you'll find them right there, all in a little huddle. So let's get started with the first mandate, and that is the mandate named Use of OCLC and Record Identifiers. So basically there's more words on the page. So in the slide deck, each of the titles links directly to that mandate's page, which gives, the full mandate, the rationale behind it. and any exceptions that are noted there. So this one is fairly straightforward. When we get records, when we put them in the network zone, they should come from OCLC as much as possible. That should be the primary source where most of the records in the network zone come from. When you import records to the network zone, and I realize there's a lot of batch work that happens, right? We operate at scale. We have to use batches. There's no bespoke work at scale, unfortunately, anymore. Maybe fortunately, we don't have time for that. When you import to the network zone, you'll always want to prefer that OCLC unique identifier match method when you're doing imports. And also, if you link records to the network zone, that's the match method that you really want to prefer over others. There are cases where you can't do that, like if you have a vendor batch that's just got vendor numbers in it that are not OCNs, obviously you have to take a slightly different approach. But the OCLC unique identifier is always the preferred match point in the network zone. We do allow and have a lot of non-OCLC 035 values in the network zone records, and that's fine. The one caveat is if you have a non-OCLC 035 value in your records, you want to make sure that they're coming in with a qualifier so that someone else looking at the record can see that, oh, that's the source, like canopy. This is a canopy number in this record and not just a bare number sitting there. It's also important because automated processes like imports from other members and from the central office look for the OCOLC qualifier on the beginning of an 035 to determine matches on OCN. So if you have kind of a bare number sitting there, you might run the risk of a future import seeing that number and assuming that it's a specific type of number, but it not really being that type of number and potentially matching on the wrong record because there's that bare number sitting there. It doesn't happen often. It's very difficult to find those like bad overlays from that kind of thing. But it's one of those, it's on a defensive cataloging kind of track to make sure that your numbers do have a qualifier. The one exception to this that's a notable exception is GOBI numbers or YBP numbers. We do have a lot of records in the network zone that have those YBP GOBI numbers. Those are not qualified. Those are the only exception. Any other number from any other source in the 035 does need to have a qualifier in front of it. So I'll pause as we go through and ask if anybody has any questions about this policy. I'll try and do this for each policy. I'll pause and ask for questions on each one. If it looks like we're, kind of running away with one policy and we're taking too much time with any one, then I'll try and move us along. But I do want to provide opportunities in the moment for folks to ask questions. And as always, feel free to unmute and ask your question verbally, or you can write your question in chat if you have it. All right. I'm not seeing any questions popping up at the moment. I will say that as I go through these today, I'll talk about exceptions. Some of the exceptions are noted in the slide deck. I can't cover every edge case for exceptions. So if you have questions, if at any time, if you have questions about one of the mandates or any other documentation, frankly, that's on the Tech Services documentation website, the Tech Services discussion list is a great place to ask those questions. If you have a question about one of our policies, probably at least 3 other people have the same question, but they're too afraid to ask it in front of someone else. So feel free to reach out to the list because then, if others in the Alliance know the answer to your question, they can jump in and help. If it kind of blows up into a discussion topic, that's great because we're all on the same page about what's going on and what the question is and what the conversation is. I just want to share that before we get too much further along. All right. Still not seeing any questions about OCLC and record identifiers, so I'll move on. Our next mandate is cataloging at the WorldCat level. And when we boil that mandate down to its essentials, basically, we all edit and create bibliographic records directly in WorldCat. So we don't do our cataloging directly in Alma like a lot of other Alma customers do. Quite frankly, you quite often you'll see discussions on the Alma listserv where people are talking about, searching for records in external systems and pulling them into Alma and doing their copy work there. And frankly, none of that applies to us because that's not what we do. The reason that we have this mandate is because we have automated record updates from WorldCat set up. So essentially every day there's a load of new records, updated records, deleted records, merged records that comes to us straight from OCLC for everything that our members have holdings set on in WorldCat. So if you update a record in Alma and you don't make the same update in WorldCat, then the next day that record's just gonna, your changes are gonna get overwritten the next time that record is touched in WorldCat. And it's redundant for you to do the work in both places. So do the work in WorldCat, update that record in WorldCat, and then the automated updating will make sure that your edits are in place in the network zone the next day. So it's just, it reduces the amount of work you have to do and make sure that your work isn't being wasted. There are exceptions for this. One of the obvious exceptions is when you have local records for things like equipment and laptops and room keys and whiteboard markers. Clearly, that's not stuff that's going to go into WorldCat. So anything that you wouldn't put into WorldCat in the first place, obviously, you're going to create a record directly in Alma for that. Another exception is anytime you want to add information to a record that pertains to your local copy. So, if your copy is damaged, then, you can note that in your item record. You can, if you have something special about your copy, then you can use a local bibliographic extension directly in Alma. And I'm seeing a comment in the chat. Yes, so not everyone can update a WorldCat record if it's a PCC record. And that's one of those cases, again, where you'll want to reach out to the tech services discussion list. So if you find a record and it needs an edit and you can't make that edit, absolutely feel free to reach out to the discussion list and share that OCLC number. We do have several institutions that participate in PCC that have the ability to edit records. I think Adam from UW and Crystal from UW talked a little about that yesterday afternoon in the context of the HIP project, the Homosaurus implementation project. So there's plenty of folks who can help with those records in the Alliance. So definitely feel free to share that to the discussion list. And then a question from Paige. This goes for 856s too. So that's like institution specific? If you need to add if you're providing an 856 as an access link, that should go into a portfolio. So your portfolio 856 is the access link. If it's a bib level 856 to give access to related material like table of contents or the author statement, then that I don't think you can localize those. Those need to be in the global record. Comment from Casey in the chat. Ooh, hang on, things are moving. Also, with duplicate record merging in OCLC, there are Alliance members who can do this for you if you don't want to wait for OCLC. Yes, we do have members in the Alliance who are part of OCLC's member merge program, and they can help with records that are duplicates and should be merged. Yep, comment from Paige. There are a lot of institution-specific 856s. Those are nuts. 856s are so bad in general. Follow-up comment from Holly that OCLC has shared recently that it's fine to remove those. If you can edit the WorldCat record, it's fine to take those institution-specific 856 links out. So if you are looking for a good deed to do in WorldCat, that's one you can definitely do. And then Aaron has shared the Alliance documentation page that shows the which institutions are PCC participants. So if we go to the tech services documentation page, and forgive me giving you motion sickness, scroll all the way to the bottom, here is the page that will show you who's in what PCC program. So that's the list right there, and you can get to it fairly easily. We'll talk a little more. One of the mandates is about PCC participation, so we'll talk a little more about that in just a bit. Are there any other comments or questions about this particular mandate? All right. Okay, no. Okay. Thank you, Adam, for the correction. I will make sure to get that update made on the PCC page. All right, let's move ahead. The ALMA network zone mandate. This is kind of like just keeping a sanitary and maybe just a sane network zone. So this mandate boils down to trying to keep the network zone as clean as possible. And by that, we mean free of duplicates as much as possible, not moving records around in terms of their OCLC control number, and making sure that the network zone is as populated as possible so that we can benefit optimally from the records that are there. So you'll want to be sure when you're importing records to the network zone, or even if you're just like creating a new record, ordering a new resource, check the network zone, make sure that record isn't already there. In your import profiles, this is another reason why we like using the unique OCLC identifier match method, because if it finds the same OCLC control number in the 035A, it'll just add you to that record as opposed to creating a whole new record for the same record, or creating a duplicate. So that's one of our kind of abiding principles is minimizing how many duplicate records we create on a day-to-day basis. It's very frustrating for staff to, they're ordering a resource, they're checking the network zone, and there's 2 records there that have the same control number. And it's like, well, which one should I use? The answer is, if you find yourself in that situation, either record will work. Let me know about the duplication, and I can take care of merging those records in the network zone. So if you do come across duplicates, let me know, because I like cleaning those up. If you're working on records, please, 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 for the love of all that's holy, do not change an existing OCLC control number. If the record you're looking at does not have an OCLC control number, it's fine to add one if you are certain that the record describes the resource that you're looking at. But do not, under any circumstances, change an existing OCLC control number. If OCLC merges the records, so like if this record you're looking at has been merged with another OCLC number or an OCLC record, I'll get that record in my merges, right? And I'll take care of it, making that, shifting it into the new primary. I have a backlog file. It's down to like 18,000 records. That merge is probably on my backlog list to handle. So don't, I realize you might be thinking that, oh, I'll help. I'll just change this to the new primary identifier and it'll be taken care of. Please don't do that. I appreciate your willingness to help and your eagerness to help, but it doesn't actually help. We have had situations in the past where OCNs were changed in records and then they got overlaid by the wrong record in an import because the record didn't actually match the new OCN's resource. So please, please, please don't ever change an existing OCLC control number. And then the other thing about this is just brief bibs. If you're adding new resources and you have brief bibs for those, it's fine to link those to the network zone. We want to make sure that when you order resources, get those records linked up to the network zone as soon as you can, because then other institutions that are ordering those resources can take advantage of the records that are there and not have to, scrounge for them. So that last one, that brief bibs, again, local equipment records don't count. If you have course reserves that are like an instructor's personal copy, clearly those are not suitable for the network zone, so don't put those in there. Um, if you are a subscriber to any kind of package or arrangement where you're not allowed to share the bib records with someone else, and I think probably the biggest example I've ever seen of this is like archive records for government documents in the past, where you were paying for enhanced records. Sharing those with the network zone was a little on the gray side of verboten. So, if you have a contract that prohibits you from sharing records, obviously we're not going to ask you to share those with the network. So you have an exception there. Questions about this one? I did go on at some length about changing OCNs. I apologize for that, but it's one of my don't do it. All right. Again, any comments are welcome, questions are welcome on any of these as I go through. All right. Next up, this is probably the most dense of our mandates, and it's floor bibliographic standards. So when you put records in the network zone, in general, they need to meet some minimum standards. So there's the concert standard record for serials. And then there's the BibCo standard record for other formats. So these links in the slide deck, and these are already available on the event page. They will take you directly to the so like the concert and the BibCo, the RDA metadata application profile. So these are the documents that walk you through what fields are required for floor standards and what fields are optional. And this is another area where if you look at those documents and you're just like, what in the heck does this even mean? That's a great opportunity to reach out to the tech services discussion list, because there are literally dozens of catalogers within the Alliance who can help untangle those standards for you and help you make sense of, what is this actually saying to me? What do I need to do practically to achieve this standard? And it's a great opportunity to keep that in for those discussions, and the questions that come to the discussion list are excellent ways to help keep this information fresh and in front of all of us, so that we don't forget, what we're doing and how we need to do it. So like every policy in the Alliance, there are some exceptions. Brief order records, which are the ones we just talked about on the last slide and in the last mandate, those things that it's like a CIP record. Or, it's just a brief record because there's not copy for it yet in WorldCat. Those are fine. Record sets from vendors, knowledge-based records. Again, the central staff, I understand that we all have to work at scale. You're going to have to load vendor records for packages, for sets of things that you buy. And you can't always insist that the vendor meet floor standards, right? I think the Alma Community Zone is probably the best example of this. It's like the community zone is a necessary thing, right? We have to use it in some cases because it's the only place where we can get a full record set that provides access for our users. The bib records are not great, right? One of the terms that I've heard coined for it is crapalogging. It's getting better slowly, and it's largely, Ex Libris kind of begs these records from content providers, so beggars can't be choosers. So they are what they are, and they are not required to meet our floor standards. Another exception locally that might be of interest is if you're doing a retrospective cataloging project. right? If you're trying to hammer through 300,000 volumes of backlog, it's like we understand that you may have to use batch processing and you may not be able to provide, full cataloging for all of that at once. We'd rather you provide some access in those cases than take, a week to produce a beautifully crafted bib record for every single volume. So that is one of the exceptions that we do have. I'm seeing Adam's comment in chat. It's sad that we can't get vendors to make better records and follow authority control, et cetera, standards. He's calling out eBrary. Yes, I agree, Adam. I think it's unfortunate. Um, I know from doing ebook reconciliation for our ebook packages that some vendors do have metadata folks. Other vendors don't have anyone at all who can help with cataloging issues. A lot of times when they don't, they just kind of foist it off on OCLC. I know from talking to OCLC quality control folks that they have a lot of the same gripes because a lot of these vendor records that we find awful, that vendor also just dumps those into WorldCat in batch loads. And so then, the duplicate detection and resolution algorithm has to run through those. A lot of the time when I see merges, a lot of the merges that come through across my radar for the network zone, I look at the records side by side and I'm like, oh, yep, that's a vendor record, very brief, not much there. And it's getting merged into a better record for the resource. So it's unfortunate, but a reality of our life. Okay, I'm going to pause. Does anybody have any questions about the floor standards mandate? Comments? Anything? Okay. All right. Let's move on. So our next mandate is one that is it's a frequent topic of conversation. So this is the single versus separate records mandate. When we boil it down, basically this means you want a separate record in the network zone for print, microform, and electronic formats. Some institutions have a single record approach, and I mean institutions outside of the Alliance. I have seen this, it does happen, that institutions keep all of the formats of a resource on the same record. And that there's an appeal to that because of, oh, we don't need to deduplicate our catalog that way, because everything's on one record. It's a little bit like manually Ferberizing things. The reason we don't do that is there are a few different reasons why we don't do that. One is the way things show up in Primo. Each record in Primo can only have one resource type. So if we put every format on a single bib record, then what do we tell people in Primo about what format that item is? And makes life a little difficult. Again, the tie to OCLC keeps separate records in WorldCat. So having our records linked directly to WorldCat means that we need to follow that same practice. Another issue, and this kind of reaches back to that context of how these mandates were devised when we were migrating, is if we ever want to migrate out of Ex Libris Alma, it's probably safest to have our formats on different records because that way we have a cleaner data path out of Alma and into whatever that system might be that we migrate to. Comment in the chat from Samantha. I thought that single records were frowned upon from a cataloging perspective. They are. In general, they are. If you talk to anyone at OCLC, they will tell you it's not good. If you talk to me about it, I will tell you it's very bad indeed. So I think there are fairly strong opinions on this one. You might have to beat the bushes pretty hard. I think you'd have to talk to people at an institution that uses the single record approach to kind of figure out why they do that. I've always been taught that it's very bad practice, so that is my line. The one exception, so the exception I've listed here, I'll say that. I can't say exceptions are definitive because I haven't seen it all yet. I'm sure somebody will bring up something that's, oh, that's an exception I hadn't thought of. Um, if you have a backlog, and so I keep track, I do a longitudinal analysis of mixed formats on records in the network zone. And there are some. Most institutions have at least a few. Some have more than a few. If you have a backlog of these things, and when you do, right? If you have a lot of these, you already know about it. Someone at your institution knows about it. It's probably, it's a retrospective cleanup project. And those are things that it's like, yes, we understand. You can't just go through and find new records for all of those electronic portfolios to go on to in a week, right? That takes time. It takes prioritizing too. And that's another thing is that this, it's like as long as users have access to your resources, not a high priority cleanup. Let's be realistic. Um, so that's the exception. If you have a pile of these and it's one of those things that you just can't get to, that's okay. Um, you know, uh, Eventually, yes, in a perfect world, we'd love to see all of those cleaned up, but that's just not realistic for most. Looking at chat, there's a comment from Paige. Wasn't there a push from Alma to create single records configuration or something? I can't remember. Not recently. I think if there was, I think it was probably around the time of migration, and I can't recall whether there was a concerted push from Ex Libris or if it was just a kind of a deep discussion about what we wanted. Um, Comments from Casey on the backlog. We've been working on automating portfolio relinking at scale with APIs, but staffing shortages make that hard. I agree. I think you're probably not the only library that's faced that, Casey. I think there are so many things. I feel like that's one consistent thing across all of Alliance institutions. There are so many things we want to get done, but we just don't have the people to do it. And yes, one of the things, definitely, Jessica, one of the things that slows down that cleanup is that a lot of those records don't have copy for the electronic version. So then you're in a position of, okay, do I duplicate a print record and then tweak it to reflect the electronic? Do I have to create something totally from scratch? It can be very challenging. And that's what makes those cleanup projects take so long. And it's why we have, infinite patience in terms of you've got these to clean up. I get it. It's not easy. It's not fast. All right. Note from Caroline. Yes, there is a macro in OCLC connection that lets you take a print bib and will create an ebib for you. Gosh, man, I'm losing my words. Oh well, I've lost the word for creating a new thing from an old thing that uh, I can't remember. Thank you, Cheryl. Derive. You can derive an ebib from a print bib. You get a gold star. You and Dennis get gold stars. And then we have an update from Steve in chat. For serials, the Community Zone Management Group is working with Ex Libris to have all the Concert e-serial records loaded to the CZ, whether or not there would be portfolios. So that would be a huge improvement to CZ metadata quality, to have those there. That would be great. That's great to hear. Yay, progress. One last thing about this policy, I've noted on the slide, there is the potential that we might have an exception in the future to this policy. The CSG talked about it a couple years ago when Alma Digital first came out. And at the time, we felt like we didn't have enough information, use cases, thoughts about the matter to fully deliberate on whether we could craft an exception to the policy well. And that exception would be for digital representations for controlled digital lending activities. So Lori is spinning up, I think this year has spun up a controlled digital lending pilot project group. And one of the things I'm hoping that we can do this year, maybe next year, is have the cataloging standing group and that CDL project group talk together about what are the pros and cons of having digital representations. If you digitize a print book, or a chapter from a print book, can you just put that digital representation on the print bib so that it's there with everything else, with the print, so that you could control the inventory if you CDL that digital representation. If they're on the same record, there are a couple of advantages. We've worked with Ex Libris to fix. There was a bug a couple of years ago that if you put a digital representation on a print bib, it would show in Primo as an online resource, which was awful. They fixed that. So there's a couple different moving parts to us getting to a place where we can either write an exception or say, no, we can't make an exception for these. So those deliberations are in the future. Stay tuned. You'll definitely hear more about that as once those conversations start up about that issue, you'll definitely hear about those through the SCTS community calls as we go. So things to come, perhaps. Are there any questions or thoughts or follow-ups on the single versus separate records mandate? I'll check in before we move ahead. Okay. I'm gonna fire away. So next up, and this is kind of similar to our 856 comments from earlier, the provider neutral record mandate. So the gist of this one is that when you put records into the network zone, as much as possible, make sure they're provider neutral records. This can be difficult, again, mostly for the reason that we have to batch process, we have to batch load, we have to use groups of vendor records. And of course, vendors are going to give you records that have their information in it because that's, to their benefit, and that's free advertising. And frankly, OCLC deals with this all the time too. Again, vendors just dump their records in batch into WorldCat, and so you get them everywhere. We are not alone in this struggle. Exceptions, of course, again, the community zone records, and then vendor record sets, especially where, if you can't identify or secure provider neutral records from the vendor or from an outside source, obviously you need to load what you have to make them discoverable. So that's that policy. Any comments, any questions about that policy? All right. Oh, okay. Just see. All right, on to the last. This is the last one, I promise. We've made it through all 7. That's good luck, right? So the level of PCC contribution, this is the last of the mandates, and it has to do with that list of, who's participating in what PCC programs. So this one distills down to if you're part of PCC, you got to stay in PCC. And if you do have to make a change to your institutional PCC participation, please let me know about it. You need to tell me so that I can update this documentation page, right? So that if other members are looking for, who can I talk to about this PCC record, we have an accurate list to give them. So that's the gist of that policy and why it's there. And this is also another part of the rationale is that we want to continue to contribute not only to the quality of each other's experience, but also we're contributing to the industry writ large. So outside the Alliance, we want to do as much as we can to contribute. And then I have a note from Casey in the chat. So PCC has relaxed their production expectations. And then participation in their funnel programs has a pretty low barrier of entry. And Casey has volunteered to answer any questions. So if you do have questions about participating in PCC, particularly if your institution doesn't yet participate in PCC, or if you'd like to expand your participation, please do reach out. And I would say, feel free to reach out through the tech services discussion list, because then everybody can get the same information. And that can be shared in a discussion format. So there's that. Thank you for that, Casey. I appreciate that. Any questions about this last mandate? Right, everybody's being quiet this afternoon. Just to reach back, another follow-up on the macroing connection that lets you derive, thank you both, an EBIB from a print record is in the OCLC macro book in connection, and it's named Generate E-Record. So there's a little bit of a helpful hint in terms of finding that macro for deriving EBIBs from print. Yeah. So Casey, a question for you, because I'm seeing some follow-up comments about, institutions trying to join PCC and maybe not meeting the requirements. Are the relaxed requirements recent? Is that last 6 months, last year?
It was just announced on the PCC list this week. I'm in the midst of I'm forwarding a message to the tech services list to share
Excellent.
this. But historically, for people who were full members of one of the programs, it was the requirement was on the order of 100 records a week, or I'm sorry, a year, or 200 in some cases for large institutions. That's been scaled way back. This is something that has been under discussion for the last couple of years, and we finally, within the last month or two in the PCC, got around to making these changes live in our governance document so that we can implement them. But funnel participation has always been the best way for people to get in if they don't think they can meet a production expectation, because there is no production expectation if you're a funnel member. You just have to find a funnel that meets your needs, that has the scope, either geographic scope or subject scope that you need. But even for full members or people who are considering being just general NACO members, for instance, it's been reduced from something like 100 a year to 12 per year per cataloger. So it depends on how big it's a sliding scale depending on how big your shop is. So that's
Great.
intended to reduce the burden, so that institutions can either join or stay in good standing. We are also introducing the idea of using other contributions to the PCC to stand in for your production. So that, for instance, if you serve on a committee or a task group, or if you act as a trainer, that can be used as a way of sort of buffeting your profile for years when maybe your production is a little lower. And then we're also looking further into the future into ways to make things like linked data work, have a way of counting for PCC participation. So that there's a lot going on with the PCC making lowering barriers and making the community overall more inclusive. So thanks for listening to my spiel.
That's great. I love hearing all of that. That's wonderful. I'm super excited to see those changes. I know one of the things that whenever we talk about, just when we were talking about editing records in WorldCat earlier in this presentation, we had the issue come up about, well, not everybody can edit PCC records. So, maybe reducing the barriers will help in other ways, widen that pool of folks who can work on PCC records. That would be great. And because who doesn't want to contribute to better cataloging quality all over? All right. Are there any other questions about this last mandate before actually, you know what? I'll just open it up. Are there any questions in general about any of the mandates we've talked about? The slides, the links will take you, as I mentioned earlier, directly to Sorry, gonna do this to you again. I apologize. The pages themselves, the full page for each policy. I could swear I clicked on that. I'm so glad I'm not trying to do a live demo right now, right? Because now apparently our website is having issues loading the policy page. All right, let's stop that business. Let's try again with a different policy. No, it's our webpage. It's having a snit fit right now, so we'll just let that be. I'll dial back to one of my, actually, I'll go back to the list. So all of these links are the same as the title links on the individual mandate pages in the slide deck. They'll take you directly, when the website is working, they will take you directly to the mandate page. And each page has a section on the rationale for that mandate, the full text of the mandate, and kind of the exceptions list that we're aware of so far. Those exception lists are not exhaustive. If you have a situation locally and you're not sure if it fits one of the exception cases, let me know. It may not, but we can nudge it a little bit. I mean, I've had multiple conversations that centered around, well, does my situation meet this exception? You know, is it okay for me to have an exception to this policy for these records, or do I really need to do this thing and get them to fit the policy? The other thing that I will share with you, and this is also already linked to the event page for today, is the cheat sheet version. So I just wrote this up and I worked very hard with spacing to make sure this is one single page. So you can print it out. This is just it's just the boiled down, the least you need to know about each of the mandates that we've talked about today. So nothing here should come as a surprise because it's all the bullet points I talked through earlier. There are links out to the CONSER and BibCo standards, the PCC guidelines on provider neutral records, and a direct link to the list of PCC participants in the Alliance. I did not put links here directly to the policy pages because it's like, well, you know, I feel like that's a little circular. What you want is a distilled version, not the whole thing. So if you know, this is something you can either bookmark it, you can print it out. I am going to add a link to the tech services documentation page with the cheat sheet on it. It's just kind of a ready reference you can use if you're not sure, like, wait, which mandate was it about changing OCNs? Because the mandate titles don't necessarily make clear what's in them. So this is hopefully a tool that will help you do that. All right. So there's a question in chat. Sometimes the only thing wrong on a PCC record is that the O3X fields have, or 33X fields have the wrong format. So it says it's an online resource. You know, the record is coded as an online resource, but the 33X says it's a volume. But you can't edit it because you're not a PCC library. Is there a better way to request that be updated than sending an error report to OCLC? So I'll let my PCC experts step in if there's a good answer, or if those should those just always go to bib change. I tend to send things to bib change. Sounds like there's not a better way to request an update. Yeah, so Adam is suggesting just use bib change. Quality control is pretty good about getting those turned around. Casey, yes, go ahead.
I just shared a link in the chat, and this is just to say that if you have tried to make a change in a PCC record and it doesn't let you, reporting it to bib change is a good approach. However, if you just assume that you can't because maybe you tried a couple years ago, try again and check this website, because these editing capabilities are reviewed on a regular basis, and often, well, not often, but from time to time, things are added or new capabilities are added. If you have a full level authorization, you can actually add and edit more fields than you think you might be able to. So double check this table. And also if you have a NACO if you're in NACO, that also ups your access to being able to modify BibCo records. So that's another reason to perhaps consider being in NACO, because it does reduce some friction for doing certain things. But it's also important to understand the BibCo policies so that if you're changing something, it's a legit change, and that's kind of goes without saying. But
Great. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So I've got a question from John. Can you repeat the guideline on merging bib records in the NZ? We should not merge records at any circumstances on our own. Actually, that's not the case. We don't have a mandate about merging bib records in the network zone. So hang on, gotta find my slide deck, not the, there we go. So the only thing you don't want to do is change an existing OCN in a record. If records have been merged by OCLC, so you can't just merge records in ALMA on your own. Just because you think they're duplicates, that doesn't count. If you do find records that you think are duplicates, please do send those out to the tech services discussion list, because we do have members who participate in the member merge program, and they can help get those records merged in WorldCat. So in terms of the network zone, the first step is always making sure that the records have been merged in WorldCat first. Once they're merged in WorldCat, then if you come across it, if you're certain that the merge is a good merge, you have no doubts about the merge, you can merge those records using the ALMA metadata editor. If you are not comfortable doing that, you can report them to me and I will merge them in ALMA. So those are your options. You can merge it. You know, if you're sure that those records should be merged and they already have been merged in WorldCat, then absolutely, there's nothing to stop you from doing that. I am also available as backup for that action. Okay, so let me just catch up on chat. And I see Michelle from COCC. We're doing some retrospective work on backlogged items, largely using batch processes. Just seeing the OCLC records that are available, they seem to vary widely in quality. When we complete this work, should we be doing cleanup work to fix records that may be brief or don't meet floor standards? Retrospective projects are an exception. So you probably got hundreds of records sitting out there. Then I wouldn't expect you, especially if the records are in WorldCat, I don't expect you to be the person who fixes those records for everyone. If you have time to do that, if you want to do that, if it fits your local priorities to do that, absolutely feel free to. I am not going to stop you from improving bib records, because I love nice, clean bib records. But you are not required to do that. All right, and then I see some additional comments on options for joining PCC funnels. All right, cool. Any other questions? I see we've got about 8 minutes left in our day. So do feel free, if you have more questions, please fire those off in chat, or feel free to unmute and ask your question verbally if you have it. Okay. I can't emphasize enough, if you have questions about any of these policies or their implications, or whether, your situation fits the policy or you need an exception to a policy, please feel free to reach out either to the discussion list. Like always, it's good to hit the discussion list with questions, because then everybody can share the same information at the same time and we all stay on the same page. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, obviously I am always here. It's my primary responsibility is to help with these things. So please don't be hesitant to reach out to me directly if you feel more comfortable doing that. And I will be happy to discuss whatever situation or question that you have with you and make sure that we all understand the same thing. in
And
the
I'm
same
going
way.
to interrupt for just a moment. If you don't know if you are on that list or you want to be added to any of the email lists, feel free to email me, Elizabeth, and I will make that happen for you. End of advertisement.
And I just spammed the list with your email address, so. All right. Well, if no one has any additional questions on the mandates, or their implications, or the exceptions, or the cheat sheet, then I will say thank you to all of you for engaging on the topic, for asking good questions, for sharing information, especially Adam and Casey sharing information from the PCC, and the greater library context. I really appreciate that. It helps everyone walk away more well-informed. So with that, I will stop my share and let all of you go.